Historical facts. The Maori are the indigenous Polynesian people of New Zealand. Maori originated settlers from eastern Polynesia who arrived in New Zealand in several waves somewhere between 1320 and 1350. Over several centuries in isolation, these settlers developed their own distinctive culture whose language, mythology, crafts, and performing arts developed independently from other eastern Polynesian cultures. The arrival of Europeans in New Zealand starting in the 17th century brought enormous changes to the Maori way of life. Maori people gradually adopted many aspects of Western society and culture. Epidemics of introduced disease took a devastating toll on the Maori population, which fell dramatically. By the start of the 20th century, the Maori population had begun to recover, and efforts have been made to increase their standing in wider New Zealand society and achieve social justice. Cultural art. Some of the fundamental cultural concepts of the Maori are presented throughout Polynesia, but all of that has been changed by the New Zealand's unique history and environment. The Maori have 8 different cultural concepts, and I'm going to tell you what some of them mean. Mana is the first cultural concept of the Maori, meaning a sacred power or authority. Wakapapa is the second concept and is the origin and path of descent of a person, object, or geographic. Utu is often associated with the word revenge. However, Utu is meant as the privation of balance and harmony within a civilization. Kaitiakitanga means guardianship or protection, and in modern usage it relates mostly to the protection of the natural environment. Tapu is very similar to many others. Together they keep the harmony of things. Tapu is the idea of being forbidden and sacred. Kaumatua are respected tribal elders of either gender in a Maori community. Koha are gifts to the hosts, often of food or traditional items, though money is the most commonly used today. The last one is Matariki. Matariki celebrates the first rising of the Pleiades in late May or early June. It is an open star cluster. Some of the Maori people start to celebrate immediately, while others are waiting until the rising of the next full moon. Maori's position in today's society. Today, only 9.2% of the New Zealand population are Maori, and 95% of them are living in the Northern Island. The number of the Maori population is increasing, even their culture is being brought back. Today, Maori songs, dances, traditional carving, and the Maori language are being taught in the New Zealand schools. The Maori language is like English, and it is an official language. Today, the Maori people are also known as a very talented and hard-working people. They are known in New Zealand as the best teachers, the best farmers, and the best mechanics. The Maori still have problems with racial discrimination within the system and among the people. The Maori's situation has been improved, but there is still a big difference in the culture, and that can often cause conflicts.
British colonialism. Englishman Captain James Cook rediscovered Aotearoa and was instrumental in charting it. White traders and missionaries showed the first real interest in Aotearoa, the traders seeking whales, flax, timber, and human heads. The missionaries to bring a moral and civilizing Christian influence to the bear and onto the heaven. In 1840, Britain, responding to pressures from the Church Missionary Society, moved to annex the country and start the process of the colonization. British did not want to the savagery displayed by settlers in Africa and America repeated in Aotearoa. The aim of the colonial office was to establish and promote peaceful British settlement of New Zealand in the name of God and the Queen. The British used the treaty to establish sovereignty and impose a system of values and concepts which are entirely alien. There followed 143 years of British imperial and colonial administration, which at times was in direct conflict with the obligations under the treaties such as alienation of our land and subjectation of our people. Less than 200 years ago, we were 100% of the population with 100% of ownership of the land. Racism is found in all of New Zealand's institutions. the churches, education, government, housing, health services, the legal system, and so on. The white majority has ensured that its values and social mores are legally entrenched in the laws of the land. An event that reflected New Zealand's racism in a special way recently was the 1981 South African Springbok Tour. Firstly, the New Zealand Rugby Union's invitation to tour, and secondly, the money and energy that the New Zealand's Rugby Union, government, police and other bodies expended to ensure the tour went ahead and the games were played despite considerable opposition from churches and anti-apartheid groups. It is significant that the court trials for the last of the arrested protesters were held in September 1983 and that the judge discharged them following evidence about injustice and oppression experienced by blacks in South Africa, given by Bishop Demans Tutu in person at the trials. Land has been and continues to be a focus for more and more protest action. With our differing concepts of land and with the laws of New Zealand upholding with a wide economic perspective, we have been forced to employ other means of asserting our claims. These have included the Land March on Parliament in 1975, the occupation of Bastion Point 1977-78, the campaign out in Reglan, the visitation of the combined Taranaki people to Parliament in 1983 over water rights at Motuni and many others. Tamoko, traditional Maori tattooing, often on the face, is a taonga, to Maori for which the purpose and applications are sacred. Each moko contains ancestral tribal messages specific to the wearer. These messages tell the story of the wearer's family and tribal affiliations, and their place in these social structures. A moko's message also portrays the wearer's genealogy, knowledge, and social standing. Kirituhi means skin art and describes more general tattooing. Reviving art form. Tamoko declined as an art forming during the 20th century. However, in recent decades, there has been a revival and many Maori now wear tamoko as an expression of cultural pride and Maori writer/academic Dr. Nangwai Te Awatukutu, who is a professor of psychology at Waikato University, says, Tomoko today is much more than a fashion statement, a passing fad for Maori. It is about who we are, who we came from. It is about where we are going and how we choose to get there. And it is about for always, forever.